next few days so that you don't miss them. As usual, all mails have been sent to your inbox because so many mails coming from MMA. Sometime inadvertently you could have missed some good mails which are really relevant for you to come. So what's happening in MMA now is on 28th of October, next Saturday. We are doing an event for empowering educators and teachers. We have got only very few seats left. General Arun, YSM, SM, VSM, and one of the finest speakers is going to be there. It's a full day event and we have got about 20-25 seats because we are doing mainly for all the educationists, teachers and from different schools. We've got more than 200 nominations. We have some outstanding speakers again, learning today's and leaders of tomorrow by Rupa Arun, then emotional social learning by Sharaf and Deepa Aravind. Then we also have a talk on Vasanthi Ranganathan who will be also talking to us. It's a full day event. We really want to give all the educators what exactly is happening in new education policy and how should be done. And that's why we are getting one of the serving general, Lieutenant Arun. Many of you have already heard him at MMA. If you want, the mail has already been sent and you can send your confirmation to MMA. Then on the 4th of November, it's not to be missed event, very good event. 10th KCG Varghese Endowment Lecture. Mr. Veluswamy is the President Automotive Technology Product Development and also member of the group of Mahindra and is also one of the joint managing director. Brilliant speaker, great innovator. Most of the SUVs, what is coming today in Mahindra is all more designed by him. Then we also have on the 6th of November, when World Cup cricket is, so much is happening, how can we miss something to do with cricket? So we have Cricket World Cup 2023 Management Lessons for Success. So we have got again outstanding panel. Mr. Kirmani, Syed Kirmani will be there, and Shabani Bhaskar, she is the captain of US cricket team. Then Mr. Unni Krishnan, singer, playback singer. Why we got Unni Krishnan is he has written an anthem for the World Cup for India to win. So we want him to know, all cricket enthusiasts also, we want to come and speak. Why only to get the speaker? Then we have Mr. Baski, Baski radio jockey and again a cricketer. He played at state level. Then Lalita Balakrishnan, former principal of MOP, has kindly agreed to lead the conversation. And this is happening on 6th of November. Then on 16th of November, as usual, we have another edition of our series Read and Grow. Then on 21st of November, again we have a cricket because we have a finals on the 15th of November. Next day, we have this event on innovation and risk management cricket. And most probably we have Mr. Venkat Raghavan talking to us. And along with him, we have two outstanding authors, Raghunath and who are cricket interested, written a number of books. We want to come and speak how innovation or risk management and how innovation is, how you put cross seam, a lot of seams, a lot of things that keep talking, we get confused. See how they keep innovating and how they take risk management and how, I know risk management, when Rohit bats, we all keep our thing holding, look at that guy, should not get out the way he's eating. But all these are, they tell, because they deal with all the cricketers, they're going to come and speak out the psyche of the thing, and it will really help a corporate leader to manage the psyche. Okay, then this is happening. Then on 22nd of November, Small Enterprises, Small Manufacturing Summit we have. Then we also have on 24th of November, another event on Archana Kalpati, it's about women entrepreneurs. Archana Kalpati and Rogini Mani will be talking to us on women entrepreneurs and the success story. So we have a number of events already lined up for the month of November and as well as for December. 27th October at Pondicherry, Achal Rangasamy is talking. 28th, we have Subramaniam Chintamani is talking at Success Story at Indian Institute of Foundryman. Then also Suresh is talking at... so we have 10 locations happening in Chennai. We have events happening. So coming to today's event, which is very important, I am giving some time for the people still who are enjoying the refreshments. So we don't want to really trouble them and they'll be joining us any moment. So before I talk about today's event, I warmly welcome all the viewers watching this program online from all our chapters and all the members. Thank you for joining us this evening. And also, as usual, if you have any questions, the numbers on your screen, please send your question to the number. We'll place all the questions before the panelists. They are more than willing to answer all your questions. Only I request you, please keep the question relevant to the topic, what we discuss. You shouldn't be asking what is the India prospects of World Cup. They may not be able to predict that. Okay, and coming to today's topic, this book has been, the Read and Grow is one of the most popular series, and we have got three outstanding people who are driving this thing, including today's anchor who is going to be talking is Mr. Ramaprasad. This series really, we are very, very dear to our heart because this is the one which really helps large number of students and also corporate leaders because the habit of reading book. I know MMA has got phenomenal digital library. We got over 1.25 million research papers, more than thousands of books, e-books and a lot of published books, but very rarely people come and use it. How to kindle that thought, how to kindle them to come and use our library, read. Reading is a habit. If you are a great reader, you will be a great leader, no doubt about it. Whoever the great leader I met in MMA, they're all great readers actually. That's the reason we do this. I'm so happy large number of students who have come. And today's subject, I'm really sure you'll learn because the book chosen, Daniel Goleman, Emotional Intelligence, very, very important. We all talk about so many other aspects of intelligence, human intelligence and psychology intelligence or your academic. But this man is really explaining to you how the emotional intelligence is going to play. And we all talk about this guy is a very difficult leader. That's emotional blackmail. I mean, a lot of words came from the emotional intelligence, but I know it's happened many a time, and you all used to that at home. My daughter does quite a bit of time. I know many of you must have really faced, and your place too. And why we choose this is because this will make you make self-awareness. It will make you to discover what is your inherent strength. And all this is what is going to be discussed today by three outstanding panelists who will be talking to us today. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together to welcome the distinguished panelists for this evening. Sreenivasan Ramaprasad, Director of CADD Centre. We'll be in conversation with Ms. Swapna Sundar, Senior Partner, PVS Giridhar Associates, and Mr. Vinay Pushpakarean. He is a global speaker, educator, short story writer, and president of Professional Speakers. May I request you please take your place on the dais, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm round of applause. Before I request Mr. Ramaprasad to take it on, as usual, the speakers who are here, I mean the panelists and other people who are here, if you have any question, the question slips are available. Please write your question, share it with us. Now, let me have the privilege of introducing Mr. Sreenivasan Ramaprasad, who is anchor for this event. Every third month he'll be here with us, and he's a founder, enabler of Samarthya, and he's also hold a degree in MSc. And he's also part of the CADD Centre. At CADD Centre, he grew to become an executive director of the company in a span of over 15 years. During his tenure, CADD Centre, he was instrumental in establishing CADD Centre in Delhi and making CADD Centre really a national brand. And Ram Prasad is also vice chairman of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce Tamil Nadu chapter, which is chamber that promotes bilateral trades between India and thing. His detailed profile, if you want, you can just click to our website. It's already there, and very, very impressive profile. I know many of us will be envy to have a profile like him. Very warm welcome to you. I think it's a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Ram Prasad. Let me have the privilege of introducing Ms. Swapna Sundar. She's senior partner, PUS Giridhar Associates, and Swapna has got about 20 years of experience in litigation, legal strategy. She's a senior partner, as I mentioned earlier, Law Chamber Legal Strategies, IP Dome, IP Strategic Advisor, and she's also chairperson of Apollo Biomedical Research Ethics Committee. And after studying her political science in Madras Christian College, she studied law at Dr. Ambedkar Law University and then proceeded to study international law and international relations in Brussels, Belgium, before joining the University of Canterbury at UK to assist the teaching of British constitutional law. And she teaches IPR law and technology law, clinical trial ethics, and many more. And she also author of many books, Law Society. She writes articles on law, technology. She lives and works in Chennai, and she does so many other things. I also read that you're also heading the Technology Center at MCC. That's a very phenomenal thing. I know MRF thing. Very round of applause to Swapna Sundar. Pleasure to have you with us, madam. Let me have another very, very important guest for this evening. Is Mr. Vinay Pushpakarean. He's a global speaker. He's an educator and a short story writer, president of Professional Speaker Association, and much more. It's really a privilege to have you with us this evening. And though his keynote workshop and training program, he helps business owners to understand and leverage customer-centric to grow their revenues, profit, and customer loyalty. He's also the founder of CEO of Miyagi Learning Solutions and a public speaking company, academy, and he has been empowering students and professionals in the communication, public speaking space for more than 11 years. Very, very Warm welcome to you. It's a pleasure to have you with us. We are all looking for a very enriching evening, such a high-profile speaker. Over to you, Ramaprasad. Thank you once again for facilitating some outstanding panel this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Group Captain Vijay Kumar. Thanks, MMA, for this arrangement. I'm really happy and excited this evening. Are you all happy and excited? Fantastic. This is Navaratri time, that's why I'm dressed like this. I chose this book primarily because it deals with emotions. And we, in our daily life, we deal with a lot of emotions, don't we? Yes. We deal with a lot of emotions. So I start off with taking you back to May 29, 2023. What is significant about May 29, 2023? It's the IPL finals. Okay, during the IPL finals, it got delayed by a day, and next day the match started. They put up a good score, Gujarat Titans and Chennai Super Kings followed. Then it was interrupted by rain, and we never knew whether the match will continue or not. I almost slept, and at around 12:30, whatever happened, I just woke up and I saw that we had 37 runs to win. And then last over, I think it was 15 runs to win. Last 2 balls, 10 runs to win. So as we moved closer to the end, the anxiety really went up and up. Oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Will we win or not? Will CSK win or not? Then when Jadeja hit the sixer of the 5th ball, that's a mixture of anxiety and joy. And then of the last ball, when Jadeja hit a 4 and we won, you must have all seen in the videos the kind of emotions that flowed across the country. Okay, the CSK fans. Now that is what emotional is all about. And if you know about these emotions and regulate it well, I think there is a lot to be achieved. So today, just to summarize the book which I have chosen, which is Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman, which is more than 2.5 decades ago. It was written more than 2.5 decades ago, but it's still relevant today. So it's a groundbreaking book that explores critical roles of emotions that play in our lives. Cultivating emotional intelligence can not only help you in your personal life, but professional life as well. So he has divided this whole book into 5 parts. The first part talks about the emotional brain. He begins by explaining the neuroscience behind emotions. He emphasizes that emotional responses are deeply rooted in our brains, and understanding this is essential to developing emotional intelligence. He introduces the concept of amygdala, the brain's emotional center, and prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for self-regulation. So first part is all about the physiology of the brain. The part 2 is the very key part, which is the nature of emotional intelligence. So in this section, Goleman defines emotional intelligence as the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and use your own emotions effectively, while also being attuned to emotions of others. He discusses the 5 key components of emotional intelligence, namely self-awareness, knowing your own emotions, self-regulation, managing your own emotions, motivation, how to motivate yourselves and others, empathy, how to feel for others, how to be in others' shoes, and finally, building relationships, social skills. These 5 components form are the basic framework for building your emotional intelligence. This is covered in part 2. Part 3 is emotional intelligence applied. He says how emotional intelligence is crucial to various aspects of our life. He discusses its role in relationship, especially in marriage and parenting. I'm sure most of you would have experienced anger who are married, right? Okay, so he also shows how emotional intelligence is essential in the workplace, from leadership to teamwork to decision making to conflict resolution. Whatever you take, your emotional intelligence plays a very, very important role. This is part 3. And part 4 is windows of opportunity. Goleman argues that the emotional intelligence is not solely determined by genetics. It can be developed and improved throughout life. He provides examples of programs and strategies that help individuals enhance their emotional intelligence, such as emotional education in schools and mindfulness practices, which are already there. And the final part, which is part 5, is the emotional literacy. The final section of the book delves into the concept of emotional literacy, which involves teaching individuals to be more aware of their emotions and those of others. Goleman highlights the importance of education and parenting in nurturing emotional intelligence from a young age. In fact, today's kids, you must have seen, they are so impatient, so impatient. In fact, after seeing the match, I was not sure whether we will win the match or not, so I didn't wake up my daughter. So after we won, I want to celebrate, so I woke up my daughter and she was very upset with me. Why didn't you call me before? Right? And we didn't talk for a day. Now that's the emotion which you're talking about. Of course, everything is patched up now. So throughout the book, Goleman provides numerous real-life examples and case studies to illustrate the impact of emotional intelligence in various situations. He discusses the consequence of emotional illiteracy, such as destructive power of uncontrolled anger and importance of emotional self-regulation. The outcome in Ukraine and now the Israel is all because of this. He also emphasizes how emotional intelligence can lead to better decision making, stronger relationships, and increased job performance. So it's not just the IQ, but EQ is equally or more important. So I'll leave you with 2 practical examples before going to the panelists who are eagerly waiting with all their emotions intact. Self-regulation in the workplace. Goleman discusses a scenario where an employee, say let's call him John, faces a challenging situation at work. A colleague criticizes his project in a team meeting, and John feels a surge of anger. Typically, when you're criticized in an important meeting and John is senior, this anger surfaces. But fortunately, John had developed self-regulation skills through emotional intelligence training. Instead of reacting impulsively, he takes a deep breath, listens to the critic objectively, and responds with a calm and composed demeanor. Now, this self-regulation not only diffuses the tension, but also earns John respect from his colleagues and superiors. I'm sure most of you must have experienced in your day-to-day life, when you deviate from an expectation, the kind of anger that is thrown at you and how you also react, and there's a lot of energy lost, right? Self-regulation really helps you in that. The second example is empathy in customer service. In the book, Goleman highlights the importance of empathy in the service industry. He describes a customer service representative named Sarah who excels at understanding and connecting with customers. When a distressed customer calls Sarah, she actively listens to their concerns, shows empathy, and provides solutions. Sarah's ability to empathize with customers leads to increased customer satisfaction and loyalty, and the company benefits from her emotional intelligence. Now that's how company can benefit. I had exactly opposite experience with one of the medical insurance company recently, where I had claimed for a medical insurance, which is supposed to be cleared in 10 days. 30 days, no response. 45 days, no response. They had a beautiful app which was developed, which prompted that it will be settled in 10 days, settled in 10 days, settled in 10 days, but there was no communication from them at all. So 45th day, I lost my patient. I put up a link on LinkedIn or a post on LinkedIn expressing my disappointment over this whole thing. I was really surprised by the amount of response I got. People were really supporting me, saying, hey, don't ever go to that medical insurance company again. They are not good, and so many things. Seeing that, one of the representatives contacted me finally, and then the next day, my claim was cleared. But one need not wait for this long, because it's a complete lack of empathy from the side of the medical insurance company. And today, during the World Cup, I'm seeing a good number of ads for medical insurance where we have Munnabai and Circuit promoting Acco insurance. Okay, we need to be careful about it. So finally, in conclusion, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman is a thought-provoking exploration of role emotion plays in our lives and the practical ways in which we develop our emotional intelligence. It has had a profound impact on fields such as psychology, education, and business, and continues to be a valuable source for anyone looking for better understand and harness the power of emotions in their personal and professional lives. So I would strongly recommend you to read this book if you want to develop your emotional intelligence and thus improving your professional and personal lives. Today I have with me two of the most accomplished professionals, Vinay, Pushpakarean and Swapna, who are equally excited as me to explore this book. So my first question to them, now that you've heard the summary of the book, okay, so first I'll start with Swapna and of course follow. So what key insights or takeaways did you gain from this book and how do you think they can be applied in your real life situations?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Ram, and thank you for this opportunity. I think the part that I was really able to connect to directly is the scientific part. I mean, so readable, so accessible. Generally, we assume that a book that's talking about neuroscience will be completely going over our heads, but it was very clear and it was very useful to understand that the brain is not one solid mass of gray matter, but that it has different functions, it has different responses. And of course, it's not easy to regulate and control all those responses, but we still know, okay, now this is part of my amygdala operating and I'm going into a hijack. It's very interesting. The second part that I really benefited from is the concept of self-regulation. So as I should say, dabbler in Vipassana, I have some basic understanding of awareness, but I think the book articulated to me much more clearly and much more cogently what could be the likely outcomes of being aware of where we stand. And I'm still working on the regulation part, yeah, as my husband knows, but still it works. Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. You know, this book, Ram has already shared what this book is all about. So before I answer that question, for me, this book answers 4 questions, or rather, this book leads to 4 questions here. Number 1, what is this book about? We as human beings, our actions are driven by our emotions. This book tells us how to understand those emotions, how to manage those emotions, and how to leverage those emotions. That's what this book is all about. And when we do that, that reflects in our actions and we start performing well in our relationships, in our career, in our professions. That's what this book is about. Who is this book for? This book is for everybody who works, learns, or occupies space with other human beings. It's as simple as that. This book is for every person out there who's working with other people, living with other people, in a relationship with other people, and occupying space with other people. This book is for everybody because this book helps you do that. And this is a path-breaking book that even after 2 decades, this book today is as relevant as it was the day it was written. And I can stick my neck out and say that this book is going to be relevant 2 decades from now as well. Because this book explores that in the kind of detail and in the kind of clarity that few other books can offer on emotional intelligence. That's what this book is about. And this has, I mean, among all the other concepts, what really excites me about this book, the one point that really excites me about this book is that it helps us understand the people around us better and work well with them, collaborate well with them, influence them positively, share learning with them. And this book helps us do that much better. And this book helps us uh, explore our entire potential when it comes to the power of our thinking and the power of our feeling. And this book sets it out very, very clearly that 80% of your success is contributed not by what you know, but by what you feel and by your emotions. And that's why emotional intelligence is such an important part. So, even now, as a speaker, I consult and I speak and I work on customer centricity. And customer centricity is about understanding your customers. That's the first step. What exactly are your customers like? Who are they? What keeps them, awake at night with a problem in their mind? What are their challenges? How do they express that? Where do they go and spend time, and in what way do they like to be communicated to? And for me, it was a direct connect, an absolutely direct connect to what I read in this book. And this book also lays it out very, very clearly that to be able to work well with people, it's very important to understand how they feel and understand how you feel and get that into action. So that would be my take on that, Ram.
Okay, thank you, Vinay. I think you touched upon the concept of empathy primarily, and you self-regulation. In fact, when it comes to self-regulation, I think I'm the most self-regulated guy ever since I got married. So anything that comes at me, I respond with a smile. Okay, jokes apart. Um, Once it happened that I was crossing the road, and suddenly a two-wheeler came and screeched. He was about to hit me. I somehow escaped. I crossed the road. I was on this side. You know what happens typically when you are in the situation? What happens? You start shouting, shouting. He was shouting at me endlessly, like all the choicest of words, வீட்டில் சொல்லிட்டு வந்தியாலேருந்து ஆரம்பிச்சு it went on and on and on. I kept calm. I looked at him. I said, you have more things to say, please say. He was surprised. Why is this guy like this? முடிச்சிட்டிங்களா? Happy? கிளம்புங்க. I never reacted saying, oh, நீ எப்படி என்ன கொள்ளலாம்? Nothing. I said, okay, I did something wrong. I crossed the road and he just managed not to hit me. So let me listen to him. And then I listened to him, and then it got over. And of course, he went. He was angry. That was his emotion. My emotion was calmness. I maintained my calm. I know I did something wrong. It's fine. It's okay if somebody tells me that I'm a fool. I know I'm not. Okay? So that's how it worked. So now coming to the next question. He discusses the 5 components of emotional intelligence, namely self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and then social skills. So which of these components resonated with you most? You already sort of sided with the components, but now I want you to tell me with probably your real-time examples so that I can really know that was a component resonated with you.
Yeah, thanks, Ram. That's an interesting question. So we are lawyers, and most of the time we have to deal with 2 classes of people who are rarely happy with us. One is our clients, and the other is the judges. Okay. So both of them are expecting us to do better than we are prepared to do, or better than we are trained to do, because they expect that they have to be satisfied. So it's the same whether it's with a judge or with a client. Now, quite often, it's difficult to explain to the client that what he wants cannot be granted by the court, as we saw in the same-sex marriage judgment that we got. So the client is refusing to understand that his very valid, justified, reasonable expectations from the court cannot be fulfilled because the law is not the right forum for that. And the judge is most of the time not quite happy with the way we present a case because they want much more ease in the decision making. So a lot of the time we are left with feeling inadequate, feeling angry, feeling sad. Quite often when we return to office, we may all be carrying our partners, and the other juniors will come back carrying all that load from the court and directly go into client meetings. And, sometimes with barely a cup of tea in between. I think that area, that space that we are occupying requires empathy. But before we can show that empathy, before we are motivated to show that empathy, we need to regulate our current mood and be very cautious. Even whether we are approaching the judge or approaching the client, we are required to be the professional advocate who is willing to apply the law to the particular situation and provide the right answers. So quite often that is what I come across, and I am constantly battling. It's not that we can't show our moods, but I think it's very important in my work that apart from being aware, sometimes a bit of transparency is also required. So sometimes we have to tell the client, look, I'm getting a little agitated by your insistence. I'm getting a little offended by your language. I'm getting a little upset by your demands. And in the same way to tell the judge, but of course, because he's the judge and amygdala may say, something, the frontal cortex needs to be like, just shake your head, much obliged, my lord, but I will present more judgments tomorrow, or I will ask my, senior advocate to come and present, be more articulate about tomorrow. So I think for me, and for many people, I assume it's not that we are forcing ourselves to deal with one emotion or forcing ourselves to deal with one step in Goleman's very well put schematic. I think we are in between and jumping from one to the other. So we go in and then we discuss with the clients, and then we are back to a bad mood or difficult mood, and then we have to jump back into team meetings where we can't again express ourselves. So I think it's not so direct a line. There's a bit of going forward, back, a bit of looping back, and so on. So I would still stick with self-regulation as my core area.
Yeah, but self-regulation, is it practical in court scenes?
Yes. Otherwise,
Because I saw this movie called Janagana Mana, okay, where there was court scenes, in any court scenes for that matter. It's purely anger and rage, and
okay.
So
I'll just take one more minute and explain that. See, like Daniel Goleman says also, sometimes a little bit of transparency in our emotion is also important. But then there is also the example that he gives of a coach. I don't know whether it's in one of his videos or... when the coach knows that you have to be really angry, give a very angry and rousing speech to the team to make them function, then you have to appear angry and rousing. It's not that the emotion has taken us over. We're not acting from emotion, but that degree of passion needs to be demonstrated. That also requires regulation, because the passion that we bring out should not operate backwards on us.
So regulated anger is acceptable. Yeah, the anger should not be beyond your control, but controlled anger can work very well. That's a very, very valid point. Thank you for that, Swapna. Vinay.
It's empathy all the way. And now, all of you who are pursuing... It's empathy all the way for me. And about 2 decades back, there was an incident that I'd like to share here. It was the placement interviews happening on our campus for the B school where I was studying, and I was in line for waiting for my turn, and the company was on campus, and I was awaiting the call that, okay, my name and my number would be called and I'll be going in. And And I had my notes there. I had my marketing notes. I thought there'll be a lot of marketing questions coming up. I had, okay, those notes, I had my certificates on one side and my documents on one side. So all these were there for me at that time. And I was jittery, anxious, nervous as hell. Now, I know when you're nervous out there and, somebody that you know comes and says all the best to you. Does that work? All those of you who are studying in some form of campus and somebody says, hey, all the best. Does that really sink in? Does that all the best ever work for anybody? Is there anybody for whom, wow, that all the best just makes you feel very relaxed and calm? Does that? Or somebody says, break a leg. I really feel my leg is broken at that point of time when somebody says that. So, yeah, so a lot of people said, hey, all the best, all the best, all the best, do well. And they all said that. Now, there was this professor who had never taught me, but he was walking by and he just, tapped on my shoulder and asked me that, okay, what's happening here? He was genuinely absent-minded. He was like, what's happening here? I said, sir, there's a placement interview happening. Placement interview? Where? I said, sir, that room. That room? Really? No, I don't think so. I said, why? So he said, my room is right next to that. I was sitting there all this while. I could not hear a single student's voice. I just felt there were a group of people sitting and talking, but I could not hear a single student's voice. Are you guys going inside and whispering out there? I was like, okay, shell-shocked. My mindset was completely reframed in that one particular moment. He said, when is your turn coming? I said, sir, it could be the next or the next after the one. He said, make sure I get to hear when you're talking. I'll be sitting right there. I want to hear your voice when you're talking. And he just walked off from there. In about 5 or 6 minutes, my turn came. I was called inside. And during those 5 or 6 minutes when I was standing outside and when I walked inside that room, in those minutes, I was not thinking about the marketing concepts that I had learned up. I was not thinking about the case studies. I was only thinking about one thing. Whatever I say, the man in the next room needs to hear what I'm saying. I need to be loud and I need to, give it all when I'm speaking out there. And I went inside and they asked me a question, and back of the mind was there, I have to speak loud and clear. And I did. The fact of the matter was that after that I came out. Yes, I got selected. But when I came out, I saw the professor somewhere outside having tea. Now, for me, this is a blend of 2 to 3 things. Number one, it's a classic case of empathy which is not very visible. He didn't come and put his arm around me and say, hey, don't worry, it'll all be okay. No, he didn't do any of those things because I'm pretty sure none of that would have helped at that particular point. He just snapped me out of the mindset that I was in. He just completely, with just 1 or 2 sentences, he changed the way I was thinking. And with that, he made sure that I went inside with a completely reframed mindset. And that's what Daniel Goleman talks about. That's the power that our mind has. That's the immense power that we possess, but we often don't use. And that's why empathy and reframing the mindset are 2 points that are very close to my heart, and I really valued them top of the rack from this book.
That was a very, very, very valid example. In fact, he chose to understand what you were doing to start with, and then he suggested a solution for that. Typically, in fact, I recall one other incident which happened recently. I went to one of the leading hospitals. I'm particularly not naming them because I don't want to, So this hospital, they had given me an appointment at 11:30. So I was there at 11:20. It was very crowded. And 11:30 I was there, 11:35, 11:45. 12 o'clock, another gentleman walked in and said, I had an appointment at 12 o'clock. 12:15, 12:30. That guy who got an appointment at 12 o'clock walked in at 12:45 inside. And finally, when I got in, it was 1 o'clock. Right? 1.5 hours after getting an appointment in the hospital. But these days, hospitals are very, very well equipped with technology. Immediately, there will be a message to you asking for a feedback. You know, whether they did a good job or not, please give us feedback. Make sure you put 5-star. Make sure you, put 10. But during the 1.5 hours, not a soul came to me and said, sorry, sir, it's taking more time. Please wait. If you have some other thing, please go and come back because it's going to take. Nobody did that. 1 week later, seeing my feedback, the feedback, obviously I had written all these things. One customer care executive called. I was pleasantly surprised. Not bad. They are calling back. So she said, I am responsible for customer care. You had written that there is, waiting time was 1.5 hours. We are sorry about that. We will definitely improve it. I said, how will you do that? What is the measure? I said, no, we will do it. I said, tell me, how will you demonstrate that this will reduce? Okay, can you do one thing? Can you monitor for the next 1 month the average waiting time of a patient? And if it has come down from whatever you had stated, can you take it as a measure? Sir, I had to take permission from my seniors. Well, there goes the story. So basically, when you're not empowered and you don't show empathy, it doesn't work very well for you. So when you show empathy, there should be an action followed by that. That's my message to you. So going on to the third question, this book highlights the importance of emotional intelligence in leadership and personal growth. Can you share examples from your own experience where emotional intelligence played a significant role in decision-making and interpersonal relationship?
Yes. Ram, the example that you gave also highlighted something that I have been thinking about since you asked me to read this book. I'm thinking about the organization's emotional intelligence. So I think it's no longer, when we're working in a team, we may all have individually great potential for emotional intelligence. But unless we are able to work together, the team's emotional intelligence doesn't rise. And as you said, we also need to be empowered. And I guess the team members should be able to trust each other well enough to be able to share their level of difficulty or pain. And then together be able to express empathy towards our customers or accountability towards our profession and be ethical at the same time. So I think when we have a leader who is clearly emotionally intelligent and who also understands that it's not just I'm an emotionally intelligent leader and I'm going to tell everybody how to be emotionally intelligent, but actually is able to look at where the team is, each of them at that given time, and then try to bring them on a common platform. So during that process, it is quite likely that there might be somebody who is less educated than us. As a lawyer's office we have, I'm just talking about a lawyer's office, but should be the same in any other organization. We have clerks, we have staff members, we have junior lawyers, we have interns, we have partners, we have senior associates. All of them are at any given time at a different level of emotional intelligence, at a different level of professional competence. But then it is the job of the leader to say that when we present ourselves as an organization, that we also have a commonality in our demonstration as a team. So I think this is where the emotionally intelligent leader needs to wake up and be alive. The second thing that I also feel is that emotions are contagious. I think we all know. So if I start smiling now, I know that a number of you will smile. So like that, if I'm tense, others are tense. If I'm angry, others are angry. If I'm upset, others are upset. So emotional intelligence also requires us to recognize that much like COVID, we need to mask our faces sometimes. Probably say, give me 10 minutes and I'll just kind of, reapply my emotions and come back and see you. So I think that one of the examples that I have, my partner is here, Mr. Prasanna. Very recently, 4 of us came together to kind of re-establish the partnership, and it was a very interesting and exciting moment for us And it's also a very challenging moment for us. It was also something that we definitely, absolutely wanted to do, achieve, and succeed at. But at the same time, we all had different expectations. I'm sure that we're still working towards it, but we all had different expectations, and we all had different ideals and goals and directions that we wanted to go at. So I think our managing partner Kavita and me, we sat out and thrashed out a plan of action that not only takes into consideration what we assume will be the final professional competency and professional intelligence of our team, but also the emotional intelligence. So in doing that, we created enough space, I think, for all the other people who wish to join us and be part of this journey to express themselves, be vulnerable and be confident and assured that trust will be kept. So it was a very exciting and interesting moment, and today we are able to look back on the last 8-10 months with some degree of satisfaction, and to the extent that we are willing to today look at each other more honestly, which probably we were not able to do 8-10 months ago. Today we are able to look at each other more honestly and examine the issues within us in a more emotionally intelligent way, knowing that each of the partners will be reining in their anxiety while they're expressing themselves. So it's a process where, of course, they are being truthful, but at the same time, they're being calm, they're being judicious, they are expressing their emotions in a more relatable and less anxious way, and hopefully in a more genuine and honest way that will help us to progress. This is the most recent example that I can tell you.
Okay, so as a leader, you always have this challenge of continuously motivating your people under all circumstances. And it's also true that not everyone will have the same motivational triggers. You know, we all believe that increase the salary and they'll be motivated. No, it's not true. Actually, there are so many other factors, and that's where emotional intelligence really comes into picture. Even putting an arm around the person and say, hey, how are you doing today is good enough, much better than giving an increment. You know, that's a kind of inclusion which is required, a genuine empathy, genuine listening. I think that's very important. You can never show a fake listening, because the other person will really find out. Yeah, like you say, mask.
Yes.
we have this Tamil thing, agathin alagu mugathil theriyum. So whatever emotion is inside, it will be reflected on your expression. So you can't say, hey, I'm happy. I'm really happy. You can't say that. Now, Vinay, coming to you.
I lead a public speaking company, and I have a team of 9 people who are part of who are part of our team. 9 young, amazing people who do not mince their words at all. They'll give me feedback right on my face. I can't get away with bluffing here because one of them is sitting right here in the front. So now, when you have a team, and one important thing that anybody who's leading a team will have to do time and again is feedback. You need to share with individuals when they're doing something right or when they're doing something wrong. And the concept from the book, or the concept which I strongly believe in on emotional intelligence, which I use myself, and for me it's worked in every leadership position that I've ever occupied in terms of feedback. When it's positive feedback, I give it from the rooftops. I'll scream from the rooftop when it's positive feedback. And when it's a negative feedback, I always make it a point to give it in a closed room. The negative feedback is always between 2 individuals. That's the first thing. And the second part of that is, when you're sharing negative feedback, I make it a practice to detach the feedback from the person. The feedback is about the action, not the person. So I'm sharing an opinion, I'm sharing a suggestion, I'm sharing criticism about the action, about the way the person is doing something, about a specific action, not the person. The person is valuable, and I would really appreciate if the person does this specific action differently. That's the intention. And that is driven by what I talk to them. So for me, this is driven by emotional intelligence, and it has helped me right through. In every single leadership position that I've ever had, this is an opportunity, or this is a way when you get to connect with your team, with your teammates. And the second example that I would like to share is about the Professional Speakers Association. Now, I've been part of the PSAI since for the last 5 years, and it's been a few months since I've started serving as the president. And even though we've not even had one single opportunity where I've had to address the entire community together, but what has really helped me is the fact that that is connecting individually to members, connecting individually to people. Because a community, an association, or an organization is built of people. You connect individually to them, and then it transforms into actions at a much larger scale. You get a buy-in, you understand what their concerns are. Sometimes you're able to do well on that, sometimes you fail on that, but when you connect with people, they are with you. And that is something which I strongly believe in, and I connect that very strongly to emotional intelligence.
Thank you, Vinay. I think a very valid point about feedbacks. Don't focus on the person, focus on the issue, right? Person is fine. Only the issue needs to be done differently, dealt with, and build relationships. When you're connected, outcome is a lot better. And connection comes only with emotions, right? I remember my grandmother, she didn't know all this emotional intelligence and all, but first thing she does is, hey, vada kanna, eppadi irke? Enna coffee kudikriya? Simple attention, genuine attention and love that is shared is part of emotional intelligence. It's a sort of empathy, you can say, right? She's not doing it because she wants to impress me. She's doing it genuinely. And she does it to everyone, not just me, but everyone. And she hasn't done emotional intelligence, but she's naturally. But Goleman also says it can be developed as a skill. So my next question to you is, what are the different ways or strategies you can adopt to develop emotional intelligence as a skill? I'll start with Vinay this time.
To develop emotional intelligence as a skill, or rather any skill that you want to develop, and this is something which I believe it's true for any skill, be it public speaking, be it cycling, be it baking a cake. Any skill gets developed when you do it. Not when you read about it, not when you listen to somebody speak and then stop it there. No. You learn and you become good at a skill when you do it. That's the only way. There is no other way. There are no shortcuts. Somebody tells you there's another way to do that. I'm sorry, doesn't work, doesn't cut it. You want to learn a skill, you got to get down to it and do it. You want to learn swimming, you have to do it in the pool. You can't learn it on YouTube. It's as simple as that. Any skill that you learn has to be learned by doing it. So, and emotional intelligence, to manage your emotions, manage the way you are speaking, manage the way you are understanding the emotions of the people around you. Start by doing it once. Start by doing it once this week. Start by doing it twice next week. 3 times the week after. And then slowly it becomes a part of your system. It becomes a part of your muscle memory, if I can use that word. All these small habits, all these practices, these are things that develop. There are just 2 things that I strongly believe in. Number 1, start small, really, really small. When I say small, I mean micro small. Take that small little step. Some of my students, I tell them that you want to bake a cake, first learn how to just get the ingredients on the table and leave it at that. If you get the ingredients on the table, that's taking 1 step, 1 tiny micro step. Similarly, learn to, if you are able to manage your emotions with 1 person with whom you have a relationship, that's 1 step taken. And then do it consistently. Don't leave it. You've not learned that skill yet. Keep doing it. Keep on doing it. Be boringly consistent about it. And before you even realize it, it becomes a part of your system.
So, Vinay's direction for developing emotional intelligence is be practical, practice, practice, practice till it becomes part of your habit. Like if you have to show empathy, what is the one skill you require? Listening with genuine listening, with the intent to understand the other person, right? Not to convey your opinion. Right? Most of the time we listen to convey our opinion, but understand without any judgment, and that is the starting point. And I completely follow that both at my personal and professional life. So when my wife talks to me, I completely listen. Why are you laughing? Okay, now coming to Swapna. What are you?
I think you need posh training really, really badly now.
Okay, sorry for using the word wife, spouse.
Thanks. No, it's okay. I'm just kidding. Yes. Actually, Ram, you touched upon the subject that I feel is relevant. I think in this world, what is in deficit and what actually will lead to learning these skills is attention. Everyone is on smartphones, not this audience. I'm sure all of you are focusing on what we are saying. But most of us have our attention taken away. So I think when you say listen, it's again a matter of attention. And there are I think, 2-3 types of attention that we have to look at. One is when we are deeply at work and there is a pop-up, you have an email. Our attention gets distracted. We lose out on what we have been thinking about. Similarly, when we are talking and we suddenly have our phone with us, the phone vibrates, we stop listening, we are on into the phone. I think part of the reason maybe this book should be updated is also to engage with the current telecommunication environment that we are living in. So I feel that in order to develop this emotional intelligence, the first thing we need to do is to retrain our mind to concentrate and to pay attention to what we are observing, to what we are listening to what we are hearing, and to what we are consuming. So, like they say that when you have a lot of emotion, what gets consumed is our attention. So we have a lot of information. We have a lot of information that we need, we don't need. But in that big mass of information, we forget to get the information from the expressions of the person we are talking to, from the tonal variation in their voices, from the interest or disinterest that they are demonstrating. We forget to look at their body language, we forget to understand their anxiety, because we are thinking, oh, I have emotion in front of me. You've been talking a lot about the medical industry since we sat down. So one of the issues there is very clear to me, because I'm also part of the ethics committee in several institutions, several medical institutions. So when you have a lab report in front of you, you forget to look at the patient. You actually don't need the patient at all, is what many professionals think. So you go to them with a stomach ache, they tell you, bring all this SGT, LDT, whatever, HB1A1C and so on. And then they say, why did you come? Just send me the report. So I think a large part of having emotional intelligence is actually having to deal with people, not substituting the information that we receive from people through documentation. Again, stepping back into my profession, we are a large part into documentation. So there are a number of lawyers who probably have complete knowledge of the pile of papers in front of them, but they haven't spent more than 5 minutes with the client. So sometimes when you look at the papers, you may think you know everything there is to know about a particular case, but when you see the client, you actually understand that probably all the prayers or all the remedies that they are asking for is not as important to them or equally important to them. Probably there is something that they are looking for that can be provided by just strategizing it better. So I think one of the core, apart from what Vinay was saying, absolutely we need to practice this. I mean, there's no way that we can develop concentration and retrain our attention and learn to understand people without practice. It's not something that you can pick up from YouTube or from a book. But at the same time, I think we should consciously understand that all the information dumped on us is probably not important or relevant to us, either in our personal life or in our public life. So I think that would be my input.
Okay. So develop your concentration to develop your emotional skills in one second. Very, very valid, because when this book was written, there was no WhatsApp. Otherwise, we would have learned this book through WhatsApp only. Okay, so WhatsApp has such a big influence today. So probably Daniel Goleman has to come up with the next version with WhatsApp in mind. Okay, so we are almost at the end of this panel discussion. We'll go on to the questions. Before we go on to the questions, one concluding message for the audience from your side, if there are any, about this topic.
First thing about this book, I think you should just grab a copy and read it. Absolutely no two ways about it. This is an absolutely unmissable book. You got to read this book. And yes, this book takes time to read and assimilate and get it into, into our mind. Yes, it takes time, but it is absolutely worth every second of your time that you invest in reading this book. So that's the first thing on the book. And on emotional intelligence, it's something that you're going to be using for the rest of your life. So, and in whatever career, whatever profession, whatever you do, whatever you choose to do, this is going to play a role. In every single professional or personal relationship, it's going to play a role. So then, why not invest your time, focus, and energy to be good at it? That's the only thing that I would like to add right at the end of it. This is worth taking a dive into. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Vinay. So,
I'm going to look at the last part of Daniel Goleman's book, where he gives amazing, fascinating, and extremely relevant examples of how this book and its lessons have been applied to schools, to organizations, and to parenting workshops. So yesterday, the judgment from the Supreme Court mentioned in many of the, out of the 5 judges, 3 judges mentioned that the natal family, the birth family of the person who is non-gender normative, not heteronormative, is the most violent place for the child. So an intersex child, a transgender child, or a homosexual child born in a fairly conservative family, the family is the theater of the most violence perpetrated on the child. The child is forced out of her or his security, and sometimes they have to leave the house, sometimes they're sent for rehabilitation, sometimes for conversion. So one of the things that I got from this book is how much work we need to do in India in emotional intelligence. It's not just an individual book is what I found. It's a book to elevate ourselves, no doubt. Each one of us can benefit from the book for sure. But as a community, we have to make an agenda to benefit from the book. And I think we need to understand that the conditionalities that we place on love, conditionalities that we place on trust and vulnerability need to be examined on these 4 tests that he gives of awareness, regulation, motivation, empathy, and building relationships. So I think that is something that I would leave with you, apart from when you pick up the book and read it, as Vinay has emphasized to you, to also look at how you can use this not just to elevate yourselves, but how to be a better parent, better daughter, better son, better wife, husband, or even a better neighbor. So I think this book has potential far beyond just individuals, and this is where I think I would like to end.
thank you, Swapna, for a valuable input. Now we'll get on to the questions. There are many, but I'll restrict it to a few according to the time. So the first question, how do you be emotionally resilient in the synthetic communication and Teams call, on Zoom calls, in a group when you do not understand the emotional state of the speaker? Did I spell it out right? Yeah. Who would like to take it?
Okay. It's tough. Plain and simple, no other way to put it, it's tough. But it's not all doom and gloom. there is a silver lining out there, because when you're Zoom room talking to all those, those tiny boxes there, and I'm talking about the boxes where the videos are on. Because the boxes where videos are off, you don't even know if there's somebody sitting there at the other end. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those where those boxes have got faces there. There are people out there. There are people out there who are listening to you, and they have got their cams on, and they are there, they are present in that moment because they feel there is some value that they attach to spending that time with you. I don't think there's anything else that we need to motivate ourselves when we're doing a virtual session or when we are doing a virtual meeting or an event. Those people out there, yes, you may not be able to physically meet them, but they're out there, they got their cams on, which is why I have immense regard for people who attend a Zoom call or a Teams call and keep their videos on throughout when there's an option. Sometimes you don't have an option, but when you have an option and you choose to keep it on, that tells the speaker, that's your way of regarding the, respecting and regarding the person who's speaking. It could be anybody. It could be somebody from your team, it could be the leader, it could be anybody, doesn't matter. But when you've got your screen on and people can talk, one thing, I'm sure all of you would have, during the lockdown and after that, you would have heard this very multiple number of times. Look into the camera. Look into that black little dot right there, not at the screens, even though we are tempted to look at the screens. Because when you look into that black little dot out there, the people at the other end feel that you're looking at them. And yes, you may not be able to understand how they are responding, how they are reacting to that, but it makes a difference to them. This is something that I try, and I do it every time I'm doing a virtual speaking session or a workshop. But that's the way. Yes, it's tough, it's hard, it's nothing comparable to having a group of people in a room together and you're seeing them. It's not like that. Let's not even compare that. This is different. But this gives us the possibility to reach so many people. I'm reframing the scenario there. This gives us an opportunity to reach people in different continents, different cities, different worlds altogether. And they're all listening to you at that particular point of time. What an amazing opportunity has been brought to you through technology. Let's celebrate that opportunity and do our best to leverage that.
Okay, this question was from Mr. Prabhu. I hope it's answered properly. Okay, I'm picking it up random.
I'll just take 1 second to add to that.
Okay.
I think one of the important things to understand is the anonymity that the internet kind of grants you in all the telecommunication and other platforms that we have. Also makes it easier for them to be personal in their attacks, is to be more rude than they would face to face. So I think one of the things is that we should also maintain a little bit of detachment and try not to take these things personally. Otherwise it becomes very tough. So I think that you must give that bit of gap, saying that, okay, they know that they are anonymous, that is why the attack is more severe. If straight, face to face, they wouldn't be doing this.
Thank you for that. We have several questions, so let's keep the answer short. We have 8 minutes to go. Okay, so the next question is how Vipassana meditation, observing things as they are, improves EQ. Okay, has anybody done Vipassana here?
Yeah.
You have done. Okay,
Yes.
Swapna has done. She's
So,
capable.
what is that?
How Vipassana meditation, observing things
Yes.
as they are, improves
Yes.
EQ.
Absolutely, it does. I'll give you a very short example because Ram will be insistent on keeping time. So when I did the Satipatthana, I've done several courses, as does my husband who's sitting in the back. When I did the advanced course, the Satipatthana Sutta, one of the very interesting inputs that they gave is that there is a gap between observation and judgment. So just before the course, I would be like, red sari, hey, I want that. Red sari, it doesn't look good on her. Red sari, too red, red. By the time the observation is being completed in my mind, the judgment is already, road rolling over it. And I used to think that, and when people said, don't make a judgment, just observe, I was thinking that it's instantaneous. How am I going to stop the judgment from coming? But when you observe and you are able to do some degree of, in-depth practice of that technique, it actually increases that gap, and I myself was able to feel that, and I can still feel it. So there is a trigger, and there is a response. And what I thought was instantaneous is actually quite few seconds away. And a few seconds away in our daily interaction in Newtonian physics may not be much, but inside the networks of the brain, it's a long enough time to say, red sari. And sometimes you don't even note that. The observation and the brain is actually like, I observed something, it's not relevant, it's out of my mind. So I think the correlation between observation and the reaction is what gives us emotional control and regulation. But I must also say that when it comes to some of the things that my husband says, then the time is very short. Between the hearing and the
So
response.
between stimuli and response, you still have a huge gap. Okay, fine. Okay, Mr. Pushpakarean, somebody has addressed you. You have to answer this. How does EI fit into the policy of hire and fire that seems to have gained much of currency today?
Well, I can answer half of that because till date I've never had to fire anybody. So I've only had to hire. So yes, and when I'm hiring somebody or for a role in my team, yes, EI has an important role in that because other than the skills part, yes, as long as the person has the basic necessary skills, what I look for is how is this person going to fit into my team? How is this person gel with the culture and the mindset of the team? Would this person be a disruptor or would this person be a seamless integration into the team? And that's what I try to understand when I'm meeting the person, and that holds a huge, important, a very critical element of selection criteria for me. So, yeah.
Thank you, Vinay. There are some questions which are already answered, so I'm skipping those questions. Are there any specific industries or professions where the principles of emotional intelligence are particularly crucial? And can they provide examples of their practical application in the fields? Have you answered this?
I think
I think we did answer these questions
think if
during
you're
the
working-
program.
you're
I don't know when these questions, it came before the program or after the program. Okay.
I think if you're working with people, it's relevant. If you're working with machines, probably not. So if you're in a robotic environment where there are just machines, probably you don't need to be emotionally intelligent.
Okay. If you're dealing with machines, you don't need to be emotionally intelligent. But most of the time, we're dealing with humans, actually. Okay. Could you provide examples of how emotional intelligence can have a significant impact on personal and professional success? This is Vijay from Vellore.
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah.
So I think very briefly, it is the principle of do I love what I'm doing? Am I committed to what I'm doing? And is it fitting in with the meaning and purpose and values and ethics of my life? So self-awareness is the only way that we can understand all this. If I know that I love being a lawyer, or I love being a member of an ethics committee, I love painting, I love driving, all those things, and then I'm committed to reaching the other end of that and then enjoying the goals of it without violating my principles, ethics, and meanings, then I'm happy. And if I'm not, then I'm not happy. So I think being emotionally intelligent and being self-aware is the most important thing for having a happy career.
Absolutely. You want to add on to it?
Just a couple of lines. Handling unfavorable situations in career and in personal and professional lives is something that all of us have to deal with, all of us have to live with. And emotional intelligence is very, very important when it comes to handling setbacks or unfavorable situations happening around us. In those situations, leveraging emotional intelligence and reframing situations, reframing mindset at that point of time is a tremendous driver of success.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let me also finish saying that I'm in the sales profession and I'm in the business and I've led teams. I've always used all these 5 components of emotional intelligence regularly, and I've been successful using that. So it not only helps you professionally, even at person handling your family, it really helps. All you need to be is be aware of who you are emotionally. Okay, I'll go to the last question, I think. And for those who had asked questions, I will conserve it and answer to you later, if it is permissible by MMA. So the final question from Srinidhi Natarajan. Personally, what do you think is the significance of this book in a country like India, where emotions are tied to various gender stereotypes which may hinder or enable the expression of? You can.
Yeah. So I can start and you can add. I think the book actually tells you something that empowers us. Basically, it tells us that we are all emotional beings, and this idea that women are more empathetic, men are more aggressive, women are more socially skilled, men are less socially skilled, women are women are less aspirational, men are more outgoing. All these stereotypes are actually not relevant. It is a brain, and the brain has certain neurological processes and neuroscientific outcomes, and that we have a network. Much of what we do with this brain that we have is also determined by the social and other conditions, economic and other conditions that we live in. So if girls are more willing to give up something, then it's because as daughters we were taught to give it up to our brother. If as girls we are expected to be less agitated and fight less, it's because it was frowned upon when we were younger. So I think that this book actually, because it starts with science and not with sociology, not with psychology, but with science, actually gave me a lot of confidence that the stereotypes are all constructed and it's all up to us. And of course, it doesn't mean that we can break out of all our social boundaries just by reading the book. It also means that we have to educate. We have to also explain. We have to, like Vinay was saying, evangelize the book. Probably make better Indian versions of the book. Not saying translate the book into Tamil. I'm saying the Indian version of the book. Sorry? Indianize the book. And then try to make that a more viable and accessible means of reaching the message. I think it's a very relevant book for India and for many other countries where boundaries of caste, color, gender, religion, etc. abound.
Thank you so much, and we are coming to the end of this thing. And there are several questions. For those who asked questions and we were not able to answer, we'll try to answer it post the program or through other media. And we come to an end. Over to Group Captain Vijay Kumar.
Thank you. I think over 440 viewers are watching this program live. Thank you for all the questions. I've been listening to you. Quickly, I will tell what happened in Air Force. Armed Forces, we use quite substantially this emotional intelligence. And when we do a para training, first drop is very critical for us. And we train quite tough. And in Agra, the para dropping school is there. My personal experience, the first jump is very, very important actually. So how they motivate? You're all scared. You think you jump out of the aircraft, you cross the slipstream. You are not that scared, but you are. There's a ustad, who is a trainer. And what will you do is, when we all of us go, he'll say, Chhatri Mata Ki Jai, everybody will shout. By the time you shout, emotionally everybody charged up. No? Only thing is you want to just get out of the aircraft. When you go near the door, Chhatri Mata Ki Jai shouting doesn't happen. Ustad will come and give you a kick, then only you go out. So emotional intelligence also needs a kick, so that we all succeed in our endeavor. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to the beautiful evening we had, where the great insights, and I'm quite sure most of you will be able to handle better whosoever. I think quite a bit of thing was said about Prasad, about the wife. I think one of you will be able to handle your wife better. Wife can handle husband better. I think one key takeaway is, and Venkat just joined me on stage so that we'll present a nice memento to our speaker. Please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Till we meet again. Bye-bye. Good night.